Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it's the weekend, it's a Saturday, and what have I got for you? So I got another movie review. I did see this last weekend, but unfortunately, due to a set of circumstances, like the live stream being pushed back because stuff happens, I was never able to release this one. So this movie has been out a little bit here, but it is Blue Beetle. So there are two credit scenes, or a mid-credit and after-credit scene. Anybody who doesn't know, this is the story of Jamie Reyes. He is, I believe, of Spanish descent. Basically, he is a young lad. He comes across a scarab. The scarab is or classed as an earth-destroying weapon, so to speak. It bonds with Jamie, and unfortunately, the scarab was found by an agency, and the agency are trying to get it back. That is just a story. You have quite prominent Jamie's family featuring it. He just come back from college as a graduate. His sister lives there, his mum and his dad, his uncle and his nana, and they live in this like very poor one. Obviously they've unfortunately fallen on times, and it's Jamie's kind of as he's trying to get a job, is he meets the lady, the daughter of the owner of the company, and that's how he ends up getting the scarab. If you've seen the trailer, it kind of gives a little bits away. Overall, I was actually really impressed with this movie. I did like it, especially from the whole heat of everything that DC's got going on. It lived up to my hype, because I feel like, more than a lot of other people, I did have a little bit more high expectations, and they were met in places and not met, but I have a kind of reasoning why that was. So anyway, let's put the spoiler warning up as we normally do, and then let's get into things. So obviously, as this movie starts, it is a very chronological movie. There are no swap-ins to the future, to the past, or stuff like that. It is basically, as I said, Jamie Reyes. He comes back from college. He's a graduate. He meets his family. When they go for dinner on the evening to kind of celebrate, they find out that his dad had a heart attack. He lost the business. They're going to lose the house, and him and his sister have to try and basically find jobs and to get money to bring it in to kind of keep the family afloat. And then it fast forwards a very small period and has him working, as you were seeing in the trailers, at a very posh house. This is Susan Sarandon character's house, and basically she works for this high-tech company who was previously owned, and she worked with Ted. I can't remember his last name now. What was the original Blue Beetle? So in this universe, we do have an original Blue Beetle used to fight crime many, many years ago, and kind of has been forgotten about. So in a little bit, I think this is how it ties into the DC universe of, like, we had Ben Affleck's Batman. Obviously, Batman had fought crime. He kind of stepped out of the limelight, and then he kind of came back in Batman vs Superman. And this is where Batman, probably in his prime, went up with the original Blue Beetle. I don't know too much about the comics, so I can't comment. Anyway, so Susan Sarandon works with his company. Unfortunately, she worked with his granddad, Ted's father. He died and passed it all to his son, to Ted. Which Susan Sarandon was very unhappy about. Ted then went missing, and she then took over the company. Now, when the granddad was involved and stuff, they were very armoured, mind focused. So I imagine a little bit like Iron Man, they're in the arms race, so they come out, but then this person wants to get back, and there are a few little similarities to Iron Man. Anyway, she has been creating the OMAC project, which I know is related to Blue Beetle in the comics, and basically she has kind of a henchman with her who has kind of this cybernetic enhancements, but they want the Blue Beetle to kind of supercharge this enhancement so she can roll this out as kind of drones for an army to make loads and loads of money. So they're searching the world for this scarab, because this is what her partner's son, Ted, had kind of been researching and looking for, and that's what he based his original Blue Beetle figure person from, which you find out his costumes and his lair and that a little bit later. Since Ted disappeared, his daughter is kind of is working within the company, and she realises that Susan Sarandon obviously is trying to do these bad things. Jamie, who's working there, tries to step in to be a man and gets him and his sister, fired, but befriends the daughter, and basically, oh, come see me tomorrow and I'll get you a job. So we think good. Obviously, and then there's the training. It's all been revealed. He turns up, gets given the scarab. The scarab links onto him, and basically that's because the scarab has chose him. And it is then a kind of spiral effect of Susan Sarandon's kind of foot soldier going after them, and then trying to get the coding within the scarab to, so she can kind of replicate it and use it, which is what does near the end. And basically there's a big fight, and I'm not going to say any twists and turns. There is some good twists and turns. I say, me, high expectation. I did really like this. Even though it has a few, because there's so many Marvel and DC movies out there, there's going to be a lot of comparisons. It's going to be hard to get a specific, unique storyline there. But I think they basically went, you've got the big DC universe, let's just take this little bit, let's just do a story based in there. It mentions a few other DC superheroes, but it doesn't feature them. There's no cameos by Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Black Adam, any of that stuff. They just want to tell a story about family. It very much feels to me the same feeling I had when going to see the first Shazam movie. Which, if I can link it to Marvel, it is a little bit like the Miss Marvel TV series. It is about the family. The family characters do play prominent roles here, there, and everywhere. When I saw in the very beginning the Blue Beetle costume where he swings the big sword, that is near the end. And to be honest, I love the fight scenes. I forgot, obviously, the Blue Beetle costume can create weapons and stuff, which he does, and he fluctuates that between it. There's only, I think, about 3 fights throughout the whole of it, and I did want more, but to be honest, I think you're not going to go in the first outing and give away everything. You're going to give a tease, and I think that was really good. The animation in this, apart from a few little bits, was actually really good as well, which, taking account of what we've seen in The Flash and that, I'm glad they put the money and resources into this. Zolo, if that he pronounced his name, from obviously Cobra Kai, he plays Jamie Reyes. I loved him. I loved all the people in this, even Susan Sarandon, because playing a bad guy, which I know isn't her normal forte, and all the little characters. I just think it was a nice little contained movie with the family kind of spirit there. There is like happiness, there is sadness, and so I don't want to go into it. I quite liked the uncle. I wasn't too big a fan of the nan. I know people find the nan funny. I didn't. Maybe that's just me. But I did like the whole family feel to this. So you're probably thinking, well, Cypher, you like all this, and why, how is your rating going to be? So I have only rated this 6.5 out of 10. Now, the reason why I have rated it, I wouldn't say, I would say it probably on a rewatch, I may even bunk it up to it. It'll probably bunk it up to 7. I say the fight scenes were good, the music was good, the story was good, but it was a small contained story. If you take off the superhero elements, it's not an amazing, Oscar winning film. Ergo, why it's not an 8, a 9, or a 10, it's more 6.5. It is more definitely worth a watch. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. I like the action scenes, I like the story. It was mixed well, the acting was good, the people did there. The bonus behind the scenes we get to see Ted still alive, which I'm hoping they do get to do a second one. I know it's very unlikely, I know it's going to streaming, but I feel like this is a good film. So, someone went, forget about all the hype, forget about everything. I'm just going to make this family-centric film about this character, give it a bit of heart, give it a bit of comedy, give it a bit of action. Bang on. Hits all of those notes. To me, it is a perfect, enjoyable, stick-on film where you're introduced to the character of Blue Beetle and a little bit of that character's world, which is what it set out to be, and it wasn't trying to be anything else. It's everything else that has gone on with DC, the reboot and everything else. Unfortunately, it's probably going to cause this film not to make a lot of money and not to crash. And again, I've said in this video, we need to ignore a little bit of everybody that's saying on. If you like the look of a movie or you go see it, forget about if it's part of a franchise or part of it, because probably the main thing is superhero fatigue. People are experiencing, and don't get me wrong, I have been part of this and agree that there is too many superhero stuff out there, but for this, it is a well-written film, it is a well-acting film, it is nice CG. it hasn't done anything wrong, that it actually deserves more praise than probably it should be getting. It is because of all these other films that they're not putting money and time and poorly written and poorly acted and all this stuff, that they shouldn't be painted with the same paintbrush. They should be, no, let's just take films as they are. But who knows? But have you seen The Blue Beetle? Do you agree with my interpretation of the movie? If you're watching this and are on the fence, I would definitely recommend to go see it. You know, if it's in the cinema, especially because the CG and where he's flying and stuff, I would definitely recommend to go see it in the cinema. I feel it's worth that cinema experience. I went in a super screen and thoroughly enjoyed it, and it cost me an additional $2.50 for that. And I'm, and I don't care for that. I wanted to see it in the super screen, and I was happy. So, anyway, this has been my review of Blue Beetle. I'm Cypher Sigma Screen Time, and I'll see you in the next one.